Hello, today we are going to talk about EC2. What is EC2 stands for? EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. So in the actual world, we have these physical servers, and on this service like servers we are the servers are called host, and in the host, but whereas like when you go into the actual like cloud environment, these host we in these host we will have the guest instances of compute instance. So in EC2 instances are nothing but the servers, but they are the guest instance inside the compute instance. That's what called EC2 instances. So it's a virtual machine or a guest server or guest instance on the host computer. In AWS server is split into like one or more virtual machines based on their volume, like how much they can handle. So when you're about to create EC2 instance, you have two choices. You can either create it on a shared hard drive or on a dedicated. So that you will come to see when you look into the AWS lab. Um, what is shared means? Shared means we can share the host with other customers of AWS, whereas dedicated means your instance will be created on a dedicated host and it's only for you and you can't share it with the other clients. So this would be easy, like if you look into the virtualization diagram. So this is the virtualization diagram. So if you look into the diagram, there is a layer called hypervisor layer, which is in this middle one. This hypervisor is also called virtual machine monitor, which means this virtualization layer will emulate, which means like it deceives, like as though it has got its own disk drive. So this virtualization layer has contact with CPU, memory, NIC. NIC means network interface card, and the disk drives. And the disk drive could be either hard disk drive or a solid state drive. So what this virtualization layer is, it emulates or the actual word to say it in simple terms is it logically splits them or handles the function. It deceives the operating system on each of the EC2 instances, letting them feel that they have their own CPU, their own memory, their own cards, or their own hard disk. So it deceives the operating system on each one of these EC2 instances, feeling that they have their own. So, and then if you go into the instances, you can have the two choices for the operating system. So let me show the AWS console screen, and if you look into it, you can choose the instance Amazon machine image, which is where you can choose Linux, Ubuntu, Windows. So there are loads of options. The most common used is like Linux and Windows operating system. So what is EC2 provide for us is EC2 means the resizable compute capacity in the cloud. Going back to my presentation, yes, resizable. So what is resizable means? It could be small or it could be large, or resizable as the name suggests. You can scale it up, or you can which means like you can add more instances. You can configure auto scaling groups as well as like mm, which I don't want to get into more details into it. So you can basically you can increase the compute capacity. Scaling up means you can increase the compute capacity, whereas scaling down means you're decreasing the compute capacity based on the workload and the amount. And to go into the EC2 instance, you must always have a root access to your EC2 instance. Means you can log into the Linux system. If you want to log into the Linux system, you must use SSH remotely, or if you want to log into the Windows operating system remotely, you need to have RDP, which means the remote desktop connection. So always like you need to have root access. So what operations can you? So when you launch the EC2 instance, it takes some time to set up. So these EC2 instances, like you can either restart it, reboot it, or terminate the instances. And these EC2 instance have a service level agreement of 99.5%. If you go back into my slides, yes, you can start, restart, reboot, or terminate the EC2 instance. And the EC2 availability service level agreement is 99.95% for each region. So what does this mean? Sorry, I think it's 99.5. Yeah, that's right. So what does this mean? That means for each availability time, so physically this is the uptime. This 99 is the uptime that AWS can guarantee for you in each region during a monthly billing period. So what is this 0.5, which is the less? Like if you say to get 100%, this 0.5 means, it means in terms of time, for each month, 20 minutes per month, they may reload the service, or it might be down for a month for 20 minutes. So that is what its 99.95% means. And going back to the console, we should know what is these types of. So for example, I will choose the Amazon Linux AMI, and then we have to choose the instance type. I'll talk about the EC2 instance type later. And once you go to the final step, or like review and launch, which is the final step, it will always ask for the key pair. So that is the last step before you launch the instance to create. What is this key pair? AWS always has got two keys, which is a public key that is stored in AWS, which we can't see here, and the private key. So what is the key that is you're downloading? That is the private key, and you have to store it, and you have to make sure it is saved in a safe place, and it's your responsibility. You can only download the key pair only once, and if you lose it, there are chances to work around it, but you cannot access the instance without the key pair. It is like having your own key for the safe. So if you don't have the key, you can't open the safe. That's the logic. That's to say it in simple terms. So when the request goes to AWS, it's like what AWS does is it will compare the key name that you have created, and that will use the public key to validate or verify your private key. If those two keys matches, you will be provided access to EC2 instance, and you can download the key only once, as I mentioned earlier, and you have to save it in a safe place. So I'm cancelling. I'm not launching the instance for now. I will launch the instance in the lab in the next videos coming up. Today I'm just giving only the introduction, and I'm going to talk about each type. So we have talked about choose AMI, where we will be launching our OS, whether it is a Linux or Windows. And for the instance type, there are before that, going into the instance type, getting back into my presentation. Yeah, I have to finish this one. And for each account, there is a limit of 20 EC2 instances that you can create in your account. So if you want to, if you want to create more instances, what you have to do is, I think in free trial only 20 EC2 instances are allowed per account. And if you want to create more than 20, you can get in touch with AWS, and then they will give you additional instances, no matter whether it is any free tier or additional paid version. Like, you have to pay extra, I think. Right, and I'm going to talk about, coming back to the next slide, Elastic Block Store. What is Elastic Block Store or Block Store? See, in actual world, all the servers will have like root drive and root volume and the data volume. Root drive is nothing but your C drive, where you save all your program files, whereas the data volume is like your D drive or E drive, where you save your own personal files. So whereas coming into the cloud environment, EC2 instances supports two types of block store devices. One is called Elastic Block Store, and the other one is called Instance Block Store. So think of these block store devices like SSD drive or hard disk drive on your computer. What is SSD drive? You would know, like most of the laptops nowadays are coming in SSD drives, and hard disk drives is like nothing like the olden days, where you will have, like, if you go into Google and look for hard drive, you will know what is hard drive. I can show you for now. So this is how your hard drive looks like. It's quite bulky, and it's quite you can find this in older laptops, whereas SSD drive is like very thin and compact, which comes in the latest version of the laptops. Like, it's like, see, this is how very thin and slim. Right, coming back to our presentation. So how the data is stored in the EC2 instance is, it's more or less of a compute node. So what does this compute node means? It stores information in a block store, and these block stores are of two types, and one is Elastic Block Store and the other one is Instance Store. Elastic Block Store, what is Elastic Block Store? Elastic Block Store is quite persistent, and they are network attached, which means if you look into the picture on the right, this is my availability zone within AWS, and there is one EC2, whereas there's EBS or block store devices. They are not they are not within the EC2 instance. If you look at the figure, and that would be very clear, because like it's not like in the actual service where the drives are within the service. It is like they are network attached, they are connected, network attached, so they are not part of the instance, they are not within the instance. That is elastic block store. So this is not, they are not part of this hardware. So please be clear on this one. They are not part of the setup, which is the guest instance. They are actually through the AWS infrastructure, and this instance will attach the this drive will be attached to the instance through AWS infrastructure, and this is what it's called, network attached storage. And the second type is instance store. So if you're in the beginning of the video, I was talking about like you remember when I said about emulated hard disk drive through the hypervisor, and part of this is going to be a instance store. So the instance store is part of it. But the problem with the instance store is it's not persistence, which means like if, for example, once you're working with the instance and if you stop the instance for a while and then if you come back, all the data in it would be lost. Or either if you stop or terminate the instance, there is a difference between stopping the instance and terminating the instance, you will lose your data. And the other thing is, and it's limited only 10 gigabytes per device. So one instance store cannot be more than 10 gigabytes. Another point about instance store is it's like a temporary storage. What is in AWS world terms, what they say is it's an ephemeral storage, which means a temporary storage. So if you terminate the instance, you will lose all the information, whereas EBS store is persistence, and you have the option, even if you terminate the instance, you have the option to keep up the volume when you need. There are, and coming back to the EC2 console, I mean AWS console, the next thing, once you selected the AMI, you will see this choose instance type. So if you go down, you can see like general purpose, and within general purpose there is large, small, and if you come down there is compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized. Got loads of options to choose from. So I'm going to talk about what all these instance type means. Getting back to the slide. So general purpose. What is general purpose means? It's a balanced memory CPU, and as the name says, it is suitable for most applications. So if the application does not require any special feature or any special requirements then we will be choosing general purpose, and then we'll work from that. Examples of general purpose families are M3, M4 and T2. And within the family, as I showed before, there are various sizes like small, large, extra large, and then second type is compute optimized. And say for example, if you need more computing power than memory, we will go for compute optimized. So you can use it for compute and high performance of computing intensive use. And the examples are, as the name, the easy way to remember is C, compute optimized. Starts with C, and so it's called C2, C4. That's the easy way to remember. And memory optimized, as again the name suggests, if you need more memory than you need for compute, you will go for memory optimized. See, memory optimized R3 and R4. And the easy way to remember is, see, when you talk about memory, you always remember RAM. So RAM means R, it starts with R, so, and it's got R3 and R4 instance. So the letter can help you to remember these instance types. So you can use GPU. GPU is graphics for the graphics processing unit, and it's graphic optimized. So you can use GPU optimized for high-end computing and high performance computing. And the example of this instance are G2. And the last type is storage optimized, and this is for low latency IOs. So if you need to read and write from a database from an instance with high or low latency, you have storage optimized instance, and these are used mainly in the data warehousing world, Hadoop, big data, where you deal with loads and loads of data. You will use storage optimized, and the examples are I2 and D2. So this is what the instance type. So I'm choosing the general configure because I'm on a free tier. Then I configure the security. I'm choosing the VPC. For now I'm choosing default VPC, and then I'm choosing one subnet, and I'm choosing a subnet and setting because this is in the public subnet, so you will get the subnet setting enabled. Next, add storage. This is the root volume, and if you want to add more volume, if you can add it, but I'm not going to do it. And add tags. What is add tags? Add tags are nothing but, like giving the label. So I'm giving something like test server, just for our own reference. Next, you are configuring security group. I don't want to select I'm just going to select an existing security group. And then the last final step is review and launch, and this is where it asks for the existing key pair or the private key. Sorry, choose an existing key pair. So I have already created a key pair, so I'm going to choose an existing key pair. So I acknowledge that and I launch the instance. I'll talk about the labs more in detail. I will be making a video on instances. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next video. Bye. Thank you.